What led you to this particular decision? This is a common question I ask clients when discussing the way they are producing code. Often teams have really good reasons for their decisions, reasons that aren't always apparent unless you know the full technical and political history of the project. However, with increasing frequency, I'm starting to hear the Amazon justification. We decided to do X because Amazon does X. We use service-oriented architecture. Why? Because Amazon uses it. We are building everything with DynamoDB. Why? Because Amazon uses DynamoDB. We want to write every part of our application to scale to any workload. Why? Well, that's what Amazon does, and it seems to be working well for them. We want to lose $170 million as part of an experiment to build a new cell phone because that's what Amazon does. Okay, so I haven't actually heard anyone say that last one, but you get the idea. And it definitely isn't limited to Amazon. Netflix, Spotify, Google, Apple, pretty much any successful company is a candidate for the "but insert company here does it" justification. This doesn't make any sense. The fact that Google, Amazon, and Netflix does something is not a good reason that your company should mimic it. I don't want to brush my teeth. Why? Because tigers don't brush their teeth. And look how successful they are in tooth stuff. Maybe think of yourself as a tiger is a great self-affirmation and motivational technique, but trying to make life decisions based on what a tiger does is going to have some real bad consequences. Just because a tiger sinks $170 million into a failed cell phone, wait, that actually was Amazon, wasn't it? The reality is, you are not a tiger. No, seriously. No. You aren't. Even if it did somehow make sense to model your life after a tiger, you've got to look at things holistically. Not brushing your teeth is such a minor thing in the overall picture of a tiger's dental hygienic health. Eating raw meat and gnawing on bones is probably a bigger deal in the overall scope of tiger dentistry. And the elephant in the room... And no, I don't think elephants brush their teeth either. The elephant in the room is the lifespan of a tiger. They only live about a decade in the wild. Why only 10 years? I don't know, maybe they all die of complications from tooth decay. But if you were going to die in 10 years, maybe it would make sense to spend less time brushing your teeth too. The point is, the facts and circumstances in your life that would make brushing your teeth a rational choice are completely different than the facts and circumstances in the life of a tiger. Plus, it's hard to hold a toothbrush in a paw without opposable thumbs. Many decisions that are good choices for a tiger are not going to be good decisions for you. And many decisions that Amazon makes about how to build software are not going to be good decisions for your organization. Your company isn't Amazon any more than you are a tiger. Unless you're an Amazon employee who happens to be watching this. Then your organization literally is Amazon. But you still aren't an actual tiger. No. Successful organizations are ones that are good at making decisions that will help grow the company. Those decisions are based on what's best for their particular set of circumstances, and usually some type of experimentation to determine what works and what doesn't. A surefire recipe for failure is to assume that you can be successful simply by making the same decisions made by Amazon. Amazon's strength is their process of making good decisions for their particular set of circumstances. Their whole microservices approach has grown out of their response to problems they were encountering in 2001 once they got to the point of selling $1 billion in a single quarter. Yes, billion with a B, in a single quarter. Just for scale, 1/3 of the countries in the world had a GDP of less than $4 billion back then. Amazon's microservice approach has been extremely successful for them, and it's very much worth looking at their model for lessons you can apply to your organization. But Amazon's approach isn't a magic bullet. They're making decisions based on what will give them a good return on investment for their set of problems at their scale. A well-designed monolithic application might be a horrible approach for Amazon, but doesn't necessarily mean that microservices offers a better return on investment for your company than a monolithic application. I'm assuming here that unlike Amazon, your organization is smaller than Kuwait, Ukraine, Ecuador, and 100 other countries. If you want to mimic something about Amazon, mimic their skill at making good decisions for their particular situation. Decisions that give them a good return on investment. Guatemala, Luxembourg, Panama, Costa Rica, Sri Lanka, Kenya, Bulgaria. And to be clear, I'm not talking about making decisions for your company based on their circumstances. Your company, your situation and circumstances. Uruguay, Morocco, Sudan, Lesotho, where is that? You can't shortcut the process of making good decisions. Finding the best way to make software in your organization is hard. Even if your goal is to become Amazon by mimicking them entirely, what they are doing today is based on the problems and circumstances they are facing today, not the issues they were facing back when they were in your position. Seychelles? Are these even real countries? Albonia? Okay. That's Dilbert, right? Who put that in there? Is Amazon's DynamoDB a good way to store data? Absolutely. If the problems you are facing are the problems Dynamo is designed to solve. Does a service-oriented architecture offer a way to bring the work of many teams together into one enterprise system? Definitely. But is that an actual problem you're facing? Does microservices offer flexible scaling and redundancy? Yes, but this is only useful if you're building something that you actually need to scale. Too often, teams forego delivering something that is valuable today because they're too focused on preparing for the issues they hope to have tomorrow. This is like someone being so obsessed with planning their hypothetical wedding that they never get out of the house and have a chance to meet someone willing to be their spouse. If you haven't created any usable software, you don't have a scaling problem. You have a "we haven't created any useful software" problem. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't ever think about the future. But everything has trade-offs. Time spent solving hypothetical future problems can be a huge waste if it comes at the expense of solving the real, non-hypothetical problems you have today. In fact, many of the hypothetical problems teams obsess over are only going to be realized if they can execute well on the immediate issues. It's like saying, if we happen to be successful, it's just going to create more work for us. Yes. And that's a good thing. It means you've done something right. The problem of wedding planning only occurs after you've successfully found someone to marry. When a couple gets engaged, the fact that they now have a wedding planning problem is not a sign they should have done a better job of thinking ahead so they would have less work to do now. That would be crazy. The wedding planning problem is an indication of success, without which there'd be no need to plan a wedding. Weren't we talking about Amazon? How did we get to tigers and wedding planning? No matter how good Amazon's decisions are for their particular situation, you aren't Amazon. And you probably aren't anywhere near their scale. So your problems are going to look significantly different with significantly different optimal solutions. Now, the good news is that your competition may be doing things simply because that is how Amazon, Netflix, or whoever is doing it. There is a significant competitive advantage in being able to identify your current, most important problem and working to solve it. The most successful software teams aren't the ones that can solve the greatest number of hypothetical problems up front. It's the ones that are laser focused on consistently delivering useful software over and over again, and then dealing intelligently with the problems that come from their hard-earned success. Transcarpathia? That's from a cartoon, right? Hokolistan, Lugish, Latveria, Lilliput, Loompaland, really?